Music is kind of the only way I can feel confident, the only way I can feel comfortable. Being able to get things off your chest and kind of just word vomit, you know, just say what you're feeling, and it's a freeing feeling that I don't feel anywhere else. I have this folder that's obviously pretty tattered. I have probably hundreds of ideas in here. Driving around is usually where I write most of my stuff. Detroit was one of the wealthiest cities. They called it the Paris of the Midwest a long time ago. And yeah, and then the riots happened and people just kind of abandoned the city. The misfit city, it's like gone through so much and it's been beaten down so much.
My love rode on a chariot, my love will come for me.
But then it's slowly been coming back. I've even thought about like New York and Chicago and LA and places like that, but it just doesn't feel like home. Like this place just, I don't know, it just has something about it that it isn't anywhere else. It has its own character. But it has this kind of never give up kind of feeling and attitude towards it that I really relate to. Also, it's kind of the birthplace of punk music. You know, with Stooges and MC5, like if those bands hadn't come along, the Ramones would have never happened. So playing and writing the music that I do, it just feels right in Detroit. I was always drawn to the city, so as soon as I graduated, I was always out here, constantly going to see shows and just trying to get out of where I grew up and the life I grew up in. I grew up just south of Detroit, like it's called the Downriver area. I don't know, small town, like kind of country down there. I have an older brother who's a year older than me, and then a younger sister who's a year younger than me. So we're like 1, 2, 3, like 3 years in a row. I grew up in like a very religious family. Like my dad was a pastor. His dad was a pastor. His dad's dad was a pastor. In the church and preaching and traveling and all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what I think they wanted me to be growing up. But knowing that I was gay, that wasn't like a life that I could really go into. It was a feeling of kind of like isolation a lot of the times, because knowing who I was and not being able to express it and not being able to tell the people I'm closest with about it, because growing up in a church, you constantly hear that that's not right and that's not natural or whatever. My parents did not know. I did not tell them until I was 21. We were cool now. They totally loving and accepting now, but it did take a few years to kind of get used to all that. Growing up, obviously, in the church, I grew up with a lot of gospel music, a lot of hymns and that kind of stuff. And then around when I was like 12 years old, I found this mix CD that my uncle made my dad. And that completely changed like how I looked at music. It had a few songs from Radiohead, from Elliott Smith, this like hardcore band from Pennsylvania. It had all these bands from the Netherlands on there, and it just completely blew my mind of like what music could be. And I had never like connected to a song before that I was like, oh, that's me. I relate to that. Yeah, it completely changed everything at that point. I kind of wanted to be like a singer-songwriter. Elliott Smith, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, like kind of that route. I really responded to like what they were saying, but it wasn't until I was probably like 17 or 18 that I started getting into like more punk music. And that raw energy that was coming from punk music was like, I felt that anger being closeted, and I kind of wanted to just like merge the two. So when I decided to start a band, I was talking to some friends and we were playing music together in a basement, and I was like, oh, that sounds good. Do you want to like try and make something out of this? And I came up with the name The Idiot Kids when I was like 14, because Elliott Smith uses that phrase, like idiot kid, on a couple of his songs, and I really like that. I was like, if I ever start a punk band, that's what it's gonna be called. I think it was because of all that pent-up aggression that I had that I felt like I couldn't express in my everyday life with friends and family. So it was like an outlet for me to finally, get it out, what I was feeling, Even though I wear the makeup on stage and I did drag for years playing with the band, and I was always putting things on before I performed, but it felt almost like war paint, you know what I mean? Like going into this and putting on a mask to show who I actually am. Years ago, I had found out I had like some kind of like skin thing happening, and I thought it was gonna be like cancerous or something. This is when I was doing more like singer-songwriter stuff. It was a scary time being 17 and to go through like biopsies and the dermatologist saying, well, we don't think it's anything, but we'll wait. And so I had like a week thinking like, what's gonna happen? And like, I always overthink things, so I always think it's gonna be the worst possible thing.
When I was young, I started to think. I started to breathe and I started to sink. Deeper than the depth of the coral reef, I started to sing. Sink, Johnny, sink.
When you're in those moments, sometimes like that's the best time to create because you can get these thoughts out that you might otherwise bottle up.
I'm still young and still trying to think.
Actually, I don't remember the rest of it. I didn't want to turn the page.
I'm still young and still trying to think.
Now looking back on it, it was like it's something stupid to worry about, but I got a good song out of it, so it ended up being a good week in the long run, I guess. Day to day, I worked a lot of restaurant jobs. I've cooked in bars, I've cooked in restaurants, I've delivered pizzas for forever. It's not easy. You buy like thousands of dollars worth of equipment, drive to a show, make 50 bucks, and then go back home. It's not very financially stable until you quote unquote make it, It's definitely a hard industry to be successful in, so you gotta do what you gotta do. It'd be nice to be able to do music and be able to pay your rent at the same time from like doing what you love, but it's hard. Hard to break through,
Progression only comes in moderation. From one idea to another.
I mean, we've been doing this for 8 years and still just playing locally, but we love doing it. So you just can't really stop. Hopefully one day maybe we'll be able to pay our rent with performing and recording.
Brave the shoreline through the change beneath your feet. Fight the current and take that tongue out of your cheek.
I'm just up there trying to do my own thing, but I want the crowd to have a good time and all that. You can feed off the crowd's energy. They'll kind of tell you what to do next. So we just go up there and we just start playing. The energy just kind of becomes a part of the show. The audience kind of just becomes a part of the show. It's a good feeling when the audience reacts well to what you're playing, but even if they don't, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna keep playing. It's like therapy for me, Every time I have a show, I'm good for a couple weeks afterwards, so it's the most comfortable feeling for me up there.
Great show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for the meeting.
I'm just doing it for myself, These songs are a way for me to
get my thoughts across, I can't when I'm just talking to people. So, but if I can share that with other people in like a space like this, it's great. It's all worth it. People like it, that's good. If they don't, I'm still gonna do it. So, you know.